Welcome to another installment of the RiotJS and Redux video series. If you haven't been following along, it will probably be much easier to start at the beginning, since each video builds on where the previous video left off. And remember, to get up to speed on Redux itself, you really can't beat the Egghead.io videos by Redux's creator, Dan Abramov. When we left off last time, we had our Riot tag dispatching an action, having it go through the reducer, returning a new state, and having that new state reflected in our tag. One of the key benefits of a system like Redux and the fact that our entire application is represented by a single state tree is that we can have multiple tags communicate with each other without actually knowing about each other. As long as they're aware of the store or the state that's being passed into them, they can act independently and use our dispatcher to get information back up to update the state. So we're going to take our existing example and we're going to break it out into multiple tags where our form is in its own tag, it dispatches an action, and we make sure that our output tag still updates the title based on that form input. So to get started, I'm going to add a new tag file. I'm going to call it title form. And in title form, I'm going to add the root tags title-form. And to keep things simple, I'm going to go to my sample output tag, and I'm going to cut the form and the associated script tag out of that, leaving only the title. And I'm going to go back to my title form tag. I'm going to put that form content and the script tag with the handler in title form. Now I'm going to go back to index.js. And I'm going to add a require, just like I have for sample output. I'm going to add one for our new title form tag. And then I'm going to update my call to riot.mount to pass an asterisk. That way it'll mount any tag that's on the HTML file. And then I'm going to go into index.html. I'm going to add a horizontal rule just so we have some kind of visual to show us that this is new output. And I'm going to add the title form tag into the HTML. And now I can go over to my browser and refresh. We'll see that our horizontal rule is there and our form is there, but this time it's in its own tag. So if I go in the browser and I type in, this is my new title, and I click change title, we'll see that nothing happens. So the problem is our store is dispatching our action is running through the reducer, and a new state is being returned. But because the action is happening in a different tag, Riot isn't actually updating the default title tag, or I'm sorry, the sample output tag, because it isn't aware that it needs to do an update. So just to prove this, let's go to index.js. And I'm going to add my console log back in. I'm going to go to the browser and refresh. Type in some new title, and we'll see that our action is still being dispatched, but we need to make sure that sample output.tag knows to update itself. So we're going to go to sample output.tag, and I'm going to add some script tags. And I want to access the store that I'm getting through the options. And the store, as we've seen so far, has a getState method that allows us to get access to the state. It also has the dispatch method that allows us to pass action objects into the reducer. And it has a subscribe method. And the subscribe method is how we're going to notify our tag that the state has changed and it needs to be updated. So subscribe is going to take an anonymous function. And in our subscribe function, we're going to call Riot's this.update. And because I'm using this inside this anonymous function, I need to make sure I call bind with this on that function, or it'll have a different scope for this. And now that we've set that up, we can go back to our browser. Give it another new title. And this time everything works. Now we have an opportunity to do some refactoring. So we're going to clean up our code a bit while retaining the exact same functionality we have currently. If we look at the title form tag, we'll see that our dispatch is passing this object literal as our action object. This is what our reducer is expecting, but there are two pieces of data in the action object, and only one that is actually derived from the event handler in our tag, and that's the value of the input when the form is submitted. The type property is a string that is essentially a constant value. So we're going to move the creation of this object into an action creator. And the action creator will take the title value as an argument and return this object with that new title value in place. So in order to get that going, what we're going to do is we're going to add an actions.js file in our source directory. And that's going to export a module. So we'll put in module.exports and we'll set that to equal an object literal. And I want to give it a method called changeTitle. And I'm going to point changeTitle to a function called changeTitle. ChangeTitle is going to take an argument, and that's going to be the new title, and that's going to return our action object. So the first thing our action object needs is our type, which is going to be changeTitle. Again, using exactly what we did from within the tag, we're just refactoring this out. And that's going to have a data property, and that's going to take the new title value and pass that along. So now I'm going to go back to my title form tag, and I'm going to comment out this dispatch call because I want to replace it, but I want to keep it as a reference. I'm going to add a new call to store.dispatch, and this time I'm going to use my action creator to put the action object in as dispatch's argument. In order to do that, I need to get a reference to my actions object. So I'll use require actions.js. And then inside the dispatch function, I'll pass it actions.changeTitle. And changeTitle takes an argument to represent the new title's value. So we can use this.newTitle.value. Let's go to our browser and refresh and see if everything still works now that we've refactored. And it does. So I can go into my changeTitle function and I can delete that commented out version. And now we've refactored to use action creators with Redux. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful, and be sure to keep an eye out for the next video in the series.